Hi guys, Forgotten Wolf here, and this is How to Fix Game of Thrones Season 5 through 8. This is also the 200, 300 like special. Thank you guys so much for this milestone. If you want to see more like this at 100 subs, I'll do a video on the FNAF time, and it'll be 1 hour. And at 25k views, I'll do a video on every Nintendo game that is being made right now. And let's begin. Game of Thrones Season 6 through 8 was a sad decline for a great show with a really shitty ending. I believe the way to fix this show comes at the start in Season 5. Now, the first change I'm going to make is that Stannis gets the whole Northern support except for the Karstarks, because their reasoning for declaring for the Boltons in the Battle of the Bastards, being robbed, beheading their lord, actually makes sense. We also get to see Jon reunite with Rickon Stark, making it a question of if Jon will join Stannis' faction. The second change is that Sansa won't be married to Ramsay Bolton. That was really fucking stupid. Instead, Littlefinger will marry Sansa to another lord, and Littlefinger will kill them to get more men to his cause. And classic Littlefinger move. Yeah, and the next huge change that Stannis Baratheon will win the Battle of Winterfell for now, killing all the Boltons, and Theon redeems himself by whichever Bolton is inside Winterfell. He kills and he opens the gates to Winterfell, allowing Stannis inside. Rickon Stark becomes Lord of Winterfell now, and the next change to Season 5 is that Marcella is kept alive, but the Sand Snakes come with her. The final change to Season 5 that I'm going to make is that Jon still dies, but we see Ghost wake up like how Jon did in Season 6. I'm going to make Ghost a big thing because Direwolf. Now moving on to Season 6. Season 6 was a great season, but I'm going to make a few changes. The first change is that starting in Episode 1, the audience sees Littlefinger working the Ravens, and Sansa overhears the conversation between Littlefinger and someone. Stannis also gets the North back to the Starks, and it is decided that he will attempt to resurrect Jon as he leaves for Castle Black. And in Episode 2, Melisandre resurrects Jon while Melisandre resurrects Jon by burning Shireen. Well, Stannis has a mutiny in his camp as he marches south down to Moat Caitlin or something like that. And Davos is present at the camp and leaves for Castle Black in Winterfell. Euron then becomes king of the Iron Islands. In Episode 3, the mutineers lay siege to Winterfell. Well, as it is real, Littlefinger promised the mutineers Winterfell, with his main goal being them to take Winterfell and kill Rickon. Then Littlefinger can come in and retake Winterfell, with Sansa being Lady of the Vale, giving him another kingdom. In Episode 4, the mutineers capture Winterfell and Rickon is taken captive. Jon Snow begins his march from Castle Black after hanging Alliser Thorne. And moving on to Episode 6, Littlefinger and Sansa and the Vale are halted outside Moat Caitlin, the last Ironborn held northern castle. And in Episode 7, Jon Snow and Ghost fight together and take back Winterfell from the mutineers, while Littlefinger and Sansa take Moat Caitlin. Now, skipping ahead to Episode 9, Cersei Lannister, Qyburn, and the Mountain all escape King's Landing before her trial. This is a huge change, as it means the Tyrells will live. But in Winterfell, a great council is held, and it is decided that the new Lord of Winterfell is Rickon Stark, and Jon still becomes king in the north, however. I kind of like that. It's fitting. In Episode 10, the Sand Snakes murder Marcella when Cersei arrives in Castle Rock, taking up residence as Lady of Castle Rock. This puts pressure on Tommen as he executes them, putting Dorne as a firm ally to Daenerys Targaryen. But the Tyrells are still alive and are Daenerys' ally, which is crucial and will play a part later. Like in Season 5, the small changes make sense now, but starting in Season 7 and 8 is where the huge changes are going to be. Moving on to Season 7, like in Season 6, Season 7 was a good season, but changes have to be made. I'm not going to start in Episode 1. Instead, the first one is in Episode 2, the Unsullied take Castle Rock, but instead I'll have Mace Tyrell go to march to Dragonstone, but along the King's Road, they meet the Unsullied who are marching to Castle Rock. But they aren't going to get there like in the show. This creates the Battle of the King's Road, and the Unsullied win this along with killing Mace Tyrell. I can assume the Unsullied are going to go to Harrenhal instead, or something like that. I don't know. Also in Episode 2, Cersei summons Randyll Tarly to replace that. So to replace that, We have Marjorie finally destroying the Faith and freeing Larys Tyrell from the Faith while killing Cersei Lannister. And an arc I'm gonna have going on is, I think it's important for every character of an arc, is that Marjorie's becoming more and more like Cersei after her father's death and Olenna going back to Highgarden. Now in episode 3, the Lannisters don't take Highgarden, but they take Storm's End instead, allowing for position to assault Dragonstone. And by the Lannisters, I mean the Crown lands, like Tommen and Marjorie and all that. This also gets them the rating of the Stormland forces. Episode 4 is a huge change as Cersei doesn't have the Iron Bank anymore, and Daenerys doesn't use Drogon in battle. So instead, I'm gonna have Cersei meet Euron, who has some of the Sand Snakes, not all of them. And she, like in the show, promises to marry Euron, meaning the Ironborn / Cersei have 3 kingdoms, being the Westerlands, Riverlands, and Iron Islands. Jaime is also not there to convince Cersei otherwise. Instead, Jaime captures the Trident and is on his way to Castle Rock. This gives the Lannisters a great holding point as they can block off trade. But, by the way, Daenerys bonds with ghosts like how Jon bonds with Daenerys' dragons. In episode 5, things are completely different as well. The episode starts with the marriage of Queen Cersei Lannister to King Euron Greyjoy, and Jaime watches. Maybe he's crying, I don't know. Then Euron leaves to conquer the Reach and take the try and get the Iron Bank, but also trying to get the gold of Highgarden and all that. Jaime is named Lord Commander of Euron's Kingsguard. Instead of Jaime and Tyrion reuniting in King's Landing, it is Tyrion and Davos who act as envoys of Jon and Daenerys to Tommen and Marjorie, asking for an armistice to fight the White Walkers. Tommen and Marjorie accept, but back in Castle Rock, Cersei and Jaime have sex, and we actually see it, and then we go to Euron conquering Old Town, and this is what causes Sam to leave Old Town. Yeah, we cut back to Castle Rock, where Cersei tells Jaime that she is pregnant with their 4th child, and like the last 3, it's gonna be Cersei. They're gonna disguise it as Cersei's husband, this time being Euron Greyjoy. Unlike this time, but like last time with Joffrey, the marriage has been consummated. Yeah. So, moving on to episode 6, we see Euron Greyjoy besieging Highgarden. So, to counter this, the Crown sends Larys Tyrell to aid Olenna and the Tyrells at Highgarden. But now up way north, beyond the Wall. After Thoros' death, we cut back to Highgarden, where it is revealed that Euron conquered the Reach and killed Olenna, and Larys will bring a 4th kingdom into his possession. In the journey beyond the Wall, however, I'm gonna kill Beric Dondarrion, meaning the Brotherhood is no more. Jon still bends the knee to Daenerys, giving her a lot of power as well. Episode 7 upholds well, but I'm gonna add 2 things. First is Bran reclaiming Winterfell and becoming Lord of Winterfell again, because he's the eldest son of Ned Stark. And the second is Marjorie praying to the gods, and then at the end of the season we learn she is pregnant. Daenerys and Jon have sex at the end of the season. Season 8, I need to scroll down. No, I'm going to do everything different for this entire fire, and just a disaster of a season. First change is that Cersei Lannister actually looks pregnant, and the same for Marjorie. I'll explain that later. In the first episode, Cersei tells Euron that she is pregnant, even though he can see it. And Cersei lies to him by saying it's his child, and Marjorie is beginning to drink a lot like Cersei. Cersei continuing her arc of becoming more like Cersei. We also get Daenerys telling Jon that she is pregnant. She begins to panic when Jon reveals his true identity. Now, before I continue, I'm going to explain my choice to make Cersei, Marjorie, and Daenerys pregnant. Of course, in the show, it was planned to make Daenerys pregnant. There was photos online, and Cersei was made pregnant in the show. And it also ups the stake. Winter gets a dynasty that can be a thousand years, and it really makes things uncertain of who it's going to be. Because Daenerys has got a lot of things going on in her mind. The land, Cersei and the Ironborn are very powerful, and then you got still the supporters who support Tommen Marjorie and the Tyrells. So yeah, my choice. I did that to up the stakes, and besides, I was gonna fix that anyway because a lot of people expected Daenerys to be pregnant in season 7, and season 8, and when she wasn't, that was kind of a weird choice. But yeah, and it feel weird to have Cersei and Daenerys pregnant and not Marjorie. So yeah. So moving on to episode 2 of season 8, we see Cersei and Yara learn of the Scorpion. Also, Arya agrees to become the Lady of Storm's End, and she is in love with Gendry, fulfilling Ned and Robert's promise from the first episode of Game of Thrones. Episode 3 is the big invasion of the White Walkers at Winterfell. The battle for Winterfell will still result in the White Walkers being defeated, but this time by Jon Snow. However, in the chaos, we see a meaningful death. Now, I'm going to have the person die as Tyrion Lannister in the Battle of Winterfell. I need to be a major character, as if I'm going to have the White Walkers lose at Winterfell, I'm going to have at least a huge character and audience favorite to die. And I have plans for Sansa and Jaime, so Tyrion is the character who I will kill off. In episode 4, the drama between Sansa and Daenerys is stupid and pointless, so I'm cutting that out entirely. We see Daenerys and Jon leaving Winterfell, but Jaime Lannister doesn't go with them and stays. A time gap occurs, and the fall of King's Landing occurs. And before that, we see Marjorie dies in childbirth, like in the first episode, House of the Dragon, along with her child, which severely demoralized the Crown Army, and the city is not burned by Daenerys yet, and Tom and Marjorie are now dead. We do get to see Jon and Ghost fight side by side. Daenerys still kills Lord Varys. In episode 5, Cersei goes into labor like how Rhaenyra suffers a miscarriage in House of the Dragon. Cersei suffers a miscarriage the day before battle against Daenerys. Daenerys, who is at this point midway through pregnancy, burns Castle Rock, and Cersei and Yara Greyjoy are killed. At the end of episode 5, we see Daenerys being crowned in King's Landing. Now, time for the finale of Game of Thrones. We see the aftermath of Daenerys burning down Castle Rock, and Jaime Lannister sheds a tear when he sees Cersei's dead body, replacing Tyrion. Before he sees Brienne of Tarth, and the two finally kiss each other. Then we have a 3 to 4 months time gap where Daenerys goes into labor. However, during childbirth, Daenerys and her child die. This keeps the unpredictability of Game of Thrones high, and while also giving a not a peaceful ending, but it is implied in season 8 that my season 8 that Jaime would seek justice. Also, I mean, if you remember back to the first season, the witch did tell Daenerys she would never have kids. So yeah. Then we cut to the Great Council, like in the show. In this council, we start by determining that Jaime Lannister becomes Lord of Castle Rock. Then it's decided that Jon Snow becomes Aegon Targaryen, and he becomes King of the Six Kingdoms. Jon names Davos or Bran his hand. Either way, Bran stays in King's Landing to help write the Game of Thrones book, like in the show. Sansa gets independence for the North. After all that, in the ending of the show, we see Jaime getting married to Brienne, while Arya gets married to Gendry, and this happens at the same time with words, and saying the same words while it cuts between the two of them. After Arya and Gendry are married, we see Nymeria walk into the Hall of Storms, and Arya finally reunites with her direwolf. North, we see Tormund Giantsbane become Commander of the Watch, and the Wildlings man the wall now, against a potential threat against the White Walkers and everything else. I'm going to throw in a book character here next to give a little tribute to the hardcore fans, the one that read the books as well. Sansa returns home to Winterfell, telling her brother Rickon that she is to marry Jane Poole, a friend of Sansa's in the books. A cool reference to the books. Another reason why I chose to do this, I found it so stupid how the future of various houses in Game of Thrones were all confirmed except for the Starks. So I figured I'd show at least Rickon having someone, so we know that the Starks are going to continue. And as we see Sansa return to Winterfell, Sansa gets crowned Queen of the North, but at the same time as Jon is crowned King of the Six Kingdoms, and the very last shot of Game of Thrones is Jon finally sitting the Iron Throne. Thank you so much. Bye!